Father, tonight we thank you for your love and your kindness and your mercy. God, we pray that you continue to bless each one of us that are present tonight, those that are not present, and bless our community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
To the flag
of the United States and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone, tonight. Thank you to Mr. Scott King. We now are very loud. Can you hear us in the back?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. I know it was a group effort, so everybody just make sure you speak into your microphones tonight. I have a few announcements before we get started. We've got the Red, White, and Boom that is going to take place on June 26th. It's going to be down at the county dock, which is the east end of Central Avenue. And this year they've got quite a few activities going on. They're going to have food vendors. They're going to also have vendors. And I believe they're doing a car show, and it starts at 1 o'clock. And so please, by all means, everybody come out to that. They put a tremendous amount of work into that. That's our yacht club heads that up. So we're very excited. It's always a big turnout. It's a great celebration, just a good time for the community to come out and show their spirit. So.
Can I interject?
Yes.
If you haven't been before, it's gorgeous with the fireworks on the lake and the reflection on it's very, very pretty. Nice.
Yeah, it's a beautiful display that they do. Also tonight, we have a very big event going on. We have graduation at Crescent City High School. We have 132 seniors that are graduating tonight and going on into the world. And so next year, we are going to make sure we coordinate our schedule a little bit better with their schedule so that we can be there and help celebrate them. What a great milestone for them. And then this is the other thing on Zoom. If the commission is all in agreement with this, we will continue to do the Zoom recordings. However, tonight will be our last night with remote interaction. So they'll still be able to watch the Zoom meeting. It will still be posted on the website. We are having some YouTube issues right now, but tonight will be the last night for any interaction. Is everyone in agreement?
Do you want a motion for that?
We don't need an emotion. It's just a consensus if everyone's in agreement.
I would just prefer to make a motion.
That's, if you want to make a motion, Commissioner DeVita.
Sure. I move that the commission continue to broadcast the meetings by Zoom, but that after tonight, the remote interaction will be discontinued.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
second.
Okay, motion and a second. Everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over. Mr. Leary, we have some special guests in the audience that want to.
Yes, Mayor,
just
thank you.
introduce.
First, just two introductions. First, John Gary with Clarion, our financial consultant, is here tonight. Two reasons: Debbie's on vacation, and also here to answer any questions that may come up for the staff with respect to the audit. And also, Robin Johnston is our new city accountant, and she is in the audience, and she will begin official work on Monday, June 21st. So we're glad she is here and going to be on board.
Thank you. Welcome, Robin. We're excited about you being here. You can get through this summer, and then November, you'll be so happy there'll be no snow. So welcome. And with that, if the commission is in agreement, I think at this time, I would like to go ahead and move public comments to the beginning. If we've got several people that want to make a couple of comments, and I'd like them to be able to be recognized. And that way, if anybody wants to get out to the graduation, they can. So is everyone in agreement that we can take them out of order?
Sure.
Okay. So at this time, I'm going to open up public comments. If anybody has any public comments, please come forward. Rick. And as you come forward, if you would introduce yourself and give your address, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rick LeBlanc. I live at 231 Speck Lane here in Crescent City. I'm here to represent the Bureau Baptist Faith Riders. I'm also the last past commander of VFW Post 10177. And my agenda was to approach the City Council Commissioners to officially adopt the Veterans Memorial here at Eagle Lions Park. This has been an ongoing project for about a year and a half. COVID has really stepped on our efforts forward the last administration. But this is the first official discussion to approach you folks that we may procure an adoption. My adoption terms were basically, we will maintain, manicure, and keep up the memorial within Eagle Lions Park at absolutely zero cost, labor and materials to the city or county. We provide everything, labor, manpower, whatever it takes to keep the place up, trimming, pressure washing, the weeding and all. And it's also remove any debris that may occur in the maintenance of that. As you may or may not have realized or noticed it, we've already took a step, not to be so brash about it, but we did flip back, cleaned up, we pressure washed. We have 2 new flags and a new light fixture for them flags at the memorial. At the same time, we would like to perform a rededication and a proclamation of that memorial. It has come to my light that the gentleman that originally had this memorial installed was a Naval Lieutenant Commander Olin Ruff. Wonderful man, did great work. And I spoke with Associate Sandy Dean. She laid out an illustrated design, and he had implemented this. Well, Commander Ruff is late. He passed in '98. And we would like to continue with his legacy and his dedication to it, the servicemen of this community. And we want to make a proclamation to rename or to rededicate that section of Eagle Lions Park as the Olin Ruff Veterans Memorial. And again, the Bureau Baptist Faith Riders, in conjunction with the Fraternal Order of Eagles, 4355 Eagle Riders, they're assisting us physically and financially on the means of performing all work and maintenance needed for this park. So that was, this is where I'm coming to you, ladies and gentlemen, tonight for.
Okay, so you're asking us for us to do the proclamation, and could we do that at the July meeting if everyone is in agreement?
That would be outstanding here.
Okay.
If I could come to your July meeting and present a proclamation adoption, and then we would have, if approved, a small ceremony, if you would. I'm in contact with the Ruff family now for the memorial in his name.
Okay. Commissioners? Yes, Commissioner DeVito.
I think this is a wonderful proposal. It's quite detailed. It would seem to me to be helpful to put that in written form and perhaps give that to the city manager so he can look it over in case he has any questions. We can look it over if we have any questions. And I think otherwise, I think it's a great idea to bring it back in July. Great time.
And Rick and the Faith Riders, all the groups, they went out there a couple of Saturdays ago and they did a really outstanding job of cleaning it up and
I noticed that. Good job.
I do know that Rick, I think you brought to my attention that there are 5 stones that need to be unearthed a little bit.
Yes, Your Honor. There's 5 memorial plaques for each branch of the service, DoD type plaques on rock, and they have settled in. They're going to have to be uprooted, rebased, and a little more foundated to make them stable and give appropriate visibility as well. We have all the materials and we're ready to go at the approval of the city.
So if we're all in agreement, do we want him to come back in July and we'll bring back the proclamation, have the proclamation written so everybody can be in agreement?
That'd be
Okay,
wonderful. That'd be
great.
wonderful.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much. God
We
bless.
love this community service. Thank you. Thank you. Any other public comments? Yes. Nicole Grace is here. She is with our Keep Putnam Beautiful.
Good evening, Commissioners and Mayor. I am Nicole Grace and Keep Putnam Beautiful, and I am just here to say thank you. We had a great month of April. We had a lot of cleanups, and as every year, Crescent City has been fantastic with their performance. During that time, we cleaned up, not just in one, but in 2 large scale cleanups, and then we had smaller individual cleanups of, individual areas. So, thank you, because Putnam County is cleaner because of.
Thank you. And
Thank
Nicole,
you.
thank you for all that you do also, because she was out there this past weekend. I failed to mention that with our cops, kids and kayaks and all the volunteers and the sheriff's department and the wonderful job they did. And Nicole was right there with them cleaning up, and she had bags and bags and bags that she loaded up, recycles and took off for us. So
We did, and I took him up, John, up at Waste Pro. I got to drive right into the recycling facility, actually, which is, I don't normally get to do. So drove right in, and he's like, pull over the side. So but it was, I think 9 bags of recycling. The sheriff's department was the ones that took the sacrifice to drink the water. And then put the water bottles aside for us. So not only did we have a fun event, we also were able to clean up and recycle and this safe resources as well.
thank
So
you.
it was a
We
fun day.
appreciate your partnership with us. Yes, sir. Mr.
I just
Larry
had
has a
quick
question.
Question for you, Nicole. The recycled material, is there any value in the Lincoln County town? I mean, I see them everywhere, nobody's picking them up anymore.
There is value. I know right now, it is a lower, now, we're starting to increase the cost for a lot of things. Hopefully, wood, lumber, if you've had a building anything recently, but we think that those commodity costs are going up too. So aluminum cans will likely see an increase, value increase. There is a lady that used to be in Crescent City. I don't know, I saw on Facebook that they were looking to see that she was okay, but she used to collect the cans in the city. And she's kind of been absent recently, so I don't know if anybody responded.
I believe she's okay. I thought
Right,
I saw
but
that.
I think some of those piles of aluminum cans might be left out for her, possibly, however, those unfortunately were.
Yeah, that was mentioned on Facebook too, that people do leave their cans for her, and she had not been out recently. So possibly that's what it's from, but we should be seeing that, the return for collecting them increase soon. My fingers crossed. But it's always good use of resources to recycle cans.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for driving down here to see me. You be safe going home. We have any other public comment tonight? Okay. Seeing I'm going to close public comment at this time with no one coming to the podium, and at this time we're going to go to our consent agenda, which is going to be our city commission meeting minutes from the May 27th meeting. Everyone had a chance to read over those. And is there any objection to them? Yes, Commissioner DeVito.
On page 2, the listing of who spoke that public comment, it is changed from what we customarily do. It just lists the names, no address and no topic. It seems to me the minutes would be more complete if we would continue to list the address and the topic.
Okay, commissioners, I don't know
Is
that,
is it necessary that we list all of that for just the minutes, or?
no, it's not necessary.
It's not
It can go
necessary.
either way. I mean, you can do it as a little more detailed if you want to, but you don't have to in reading through that and the requirements. But if the commission, if that's the commission's pleasure, then we can do that going forward.
Well, it's been done that way for a long time, and it tends to indicate if you're local, if you're from out of town, that, I mean, to me, I think it's.
I never
complete record.
I'll have to, I don't recall us putting what they spoke on.
No, I don't either.
I don't recall.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, we'll look into that. So commissioners,
I make a motion that we adopt the minutes with the necessary corrections.
okay,
And what is the necessary correction? Are you saying that's the necessary correction?
you want to add the addresses.
Yeah, just add the addresses on it.
Okay,
Just the addresses.
okay,
I'll second that,
okay.
unless somebody else wants. to
We have a
second.
motion to accept the minutes with adding the addresses. And we have a second by Commissioner DeVito. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
No.
opposed, say no.
No,
Okay, the ayes have it. So. Okay, let's move on to, Mr. Leary, do you want to, or does John want to introduce
Well,
on our
Mayor, I think
annual?
you can introduce James Halloran with our auditing law firm, James Moore is here to present the annual audit. So we'll just let him introduce himself and give his
Okay.
address.
Thank you.
How's everyone tonight?
Good, how are you?
All right, well, too bad Debbie's not here, you know, she went on vacation finally, you know, I know, vacation retirement, you might want to be a little worried, so just stay there for a while. But John's also helping out the clarity group. So we're James Moore Company, we've been performing your audits for 3 years now. So this is the audit for the year ended September 30th, 2020. And just a summary of what's included in your financial audit report. So your audit is subject to both US auditing standards, government auditing standards, which is an additional level that the state of Florida she chooses local governments to be under. Plus you're subject to various Florida auditor general rules. So there's a number of reports in those financial statements that are James Moore's. The financial statements are the responsibility of the city and management for those financial statements. Our responsibility is to audit those financial statements. You do have an unmodified opinion on the main financial statements, and that's what you want. It states that the financial statements present fairly in all material respects, the financial position, results of operations, and cash flows for this year ended September 30th, 2020. A couple years ago, you may remember you did not have a unmodified opinion. You actually had a modified opinion 2 years ago. Internal control and compliance. This is a report required by government auditing standards. And this lists out various items that we identified as internal control weaknesses in your financial reporting system or compliance matters. So you had this year 2 material weaknesses. Our level of comments, the material weakness would be the most severe comment that we could provide. That indicates that there is a possibility that a material error could occur in the financial statements and not be detected in a timely basis by the internal control structure of the city of Crescent City. The next level is a significant deficiency. And those are items that we believe are important to bring to the attention of the city commission. And then we have the material compliance requirement. That's anything that we see from a compliance perspective that would be needed. So those comments, the material weaknesses were related to reconciliation of general ledger account balances. So that's at year end, making sure the account records are updated and reconciled and brought to the appropriate balances. In any small city, most of my small cities struggle with this. We do Malacca up the street as well as Interlochen up the street. And everyone struggles with segregation of duties. When you have a small accounting department, is how do you put controls in place when you have only one person that has a lot of ability to touch the finance area? So that's a comment there. You did in previous years have a material weakness related to being able yourself to prepare the financial statements, but now we're bringing on clearing group. They have that ability to look at those financial statements that we prepare and provide that control system. There are 3 significant deficiencies. One is dealing with utility billing cash receipts, as well as the next one is utility billing rates, which hopefully with the new system, that one would be resolved. And then also doing authorized check signers. You don't typically want to have your finance personnel have an authorized check signer because they also have the ability to go into the accounting system and change things that could possibly then hide if there was potential theft or fraud. We did not indicate any theft or fraud was noted, but it is a risk you have when you have your finance person also have the ability to sign checks, transfer money, any of those items. The compliance comment we have this year is a new one. You have a debt compliance requirement on your gas bonds and requires you to have a certain amount of cash set aside for repair and replacement. And those funds were not set aside for this year. So that's something you guys need to work on. In that as well, you may also want to look at those bonds. They're at a pretty high interest rate. They're around 5% interest rate. We're going to be refinancing those. A lot of banks, probably your local bank or any, you probably got 10 different banks now. All the banks love governmentals where 10 years ago they didn't want to touch you guys. You'll probably be able to get a rate 1% or 2% less than where you're at now and potentially not have the debt service and R&R requirements as well, which would free up that cash. We do have one suggestion under the Florida Auditor General report for this year, and that's looking at the interfund activity. So looking at the amounts owed between your funds and reconciling those as much as possible throughout the year. Florida statutes also require us to look at the Florida investment statute and ensure that the city is in compliance with those, as well as your own internal policies, and we had no comments that were required there. So to kind of give you perspective, because sometimes it's kind of like, well, that's a lot of comments you just listed off. So you can kind of see the last 3 years, kind of where you're at. So from 3 years ago, you had the same, a little bit less in material weaknesses, the one that occurring with their health, we were able to resolve, helped out there. Significant deficiencies, you dropped to 1 in 2019, and you can see the suggestions has decreased as well. Simple audit compliance would be if you received in a year greater than $750,000 in federal and state funds that were subject to those additional audit requirements. You haven't yet been subject to that. So a little bit about numbers. You know, I'm a CPA, I can't come up here and just talk words. I got some numbers in here somewhere for you. So your general fund is your main operating fund of the city. And you guys have about, we look at the end of the year, about $1.5 million is what we have remaining at the end of the year. And that's the green line on that bar chart. And the blue line is your revenues, the red is your expenditures. So you can see the past 2 years, you've been doing well, had a little bit more revenues than expenditures, which is what you kind of want going forward. But to kind of put that a little better perspective as well, is what is that, one of the statistics and ratios you look at is how much fund balance, or think about it, rainy day fund, cash sitting in the bank roughly for you guys, is available to cover expenditures going forward. So the first percentage you see there is 67%. So that's if you took your unassigned fund balance, which is your unrestricted money to your general fund, compared it to your expenditures and transfers out. So that's roughly 8 months you have sitting there. Now, each one of you are going to have a different opinion on how much that rainy day fund you want to have set aside. You know, some might be at 3, some might be at a year. So every commission kind of has to decide that. That's a policy you may want to look at in the future and establishing what that is. But that's still a good amount. The Government Finance Officers Association recommends at a minimum to have 2 months, and 2 months is about 17%. Usually what I see in my smaller local governments, my smaller towns and cities, I see that number higher because you don't have the ability to borrow money from your other funds. Like a larger government would have larger utility funds that can borrow from on a short-term basis. So typically I'll see that higher. You guys are a little bit away from the coast, so that gives you some protection as well from hurricanes, but it does hit. And typically it's the tornadoes that happen that usually cause the most damage. And then anyone who's dealt with FEMA, I call FEMA a 4-letter word. It would take you anywhere from, if you're lucky, a year, it could be up to 3 years before you get the money. So if you have that money set aside, you won't need to borrow in that meantime. The last number, that 57%, that's if you look at your budget. How does that compare to your budgeted expenditures for the year? So some of your other governmental funds you have your discretionary tax fund, which is the Better Place funds. That's where those monies reside. About $500,000 left at the end of the year, increased to about $140,000. That's restricted by the county ordinance that set the Better Place funds for those purposes. You also do have a community redevelopment agency, which has been doing very well the last couple of years. You've seen those prices, your revenues go up in there as well, which is going to help you take on some projects. New for this year, Florida statute said anytime you have a community redevelopment agency that expends greater than $100,000 or receives revenues greater than $100,000, a separate audit is required for those entities. So we did issue a separate audit related to your CRA fund this year.
I'm sorry, that's all 3 CRAs combined, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Clarification.
Your business type funds, which are your enterprise funds for you guys, you have 2, your gas and your water and sewer funds. So you see gas there, this is showing your unrestricted net position. So what's left over at the end of the year from an equity perspective? You have your cash less your liabilities. And you can see back in 2018, you had close to $220,000 in your gas fund, and now you're down to about $131,000. So that's an area you guys need to look at to see what's going on there. Is it the rates? Is it the expenses? What's causing those issues? Your water and sewer fund has been pretty stable over the past 3 years. You look at the balance in the unrestricted fund, as well as when you look at the unrestricted net position as a percentage of expenditures, kind of gives you a little bar kind of how that's going. So you run about 74% the past 3 years in water and sewer, but you see the gas fund is continuing to decline.
Can I make one comment?
Yeah.
So for the board's commission's edification, I've discussed individually with all of you The fact that we will be having to transfer $98,000 from our general fund reserve to the gas authority reserve account, so we can meet the state requirements that requires to hold the 5% of our capital equity in reserves, correct?
I would do that. I don't know if I would transfer it. You may just want to loan it so you can pay it back to the general fund of the gas tax. The gas fund has money. I'll give it as an air fund.
And what I'm going to be doing, hopefully over the next month, is coming back to you with some recommendations on the gas authority and what we can possibly do. But that's going to be an in-depth discussion.
Right, another item you guys have is note disclosures. You'll see information about your long-term debt. The positive is your governmental fund, your general fund has no long-term debt, so there's no debt hanging out there, no mortgages on buildings, say like for your city hall, anything like that. So that's a very good position to be in for local government. Your business type activities, of course, you have debt in both your gas fund as well as your water and sewer. And those you just had your normal payments for this year. You do have the loan with Florida Gas for the relocation, but that's being reimbursed back through some grant funds. So hopefully that will be coming off here in the next year or so. Retirement plans, you have 3 different retirement plans for the city at the end of this year. You have the general employees, which is a defined contribution plan, where you can contribute 5% on behalf of your employees into that plan. You do also have a fire defined benefit pension plan as well as a police defined benefit pension plan. I guess with later the subsequent event note, we talked about the Florida sheriffs, the Putnam County sheriff taking over for the contract for the police. You have to decide what you do with that pension plan. I've worked with another city on this down the road. City of Liddell had this a couple of years ago. So there's some tricky things to know about when you receive the county insurance premium taxes and what you do when you terminate that and how you need to do it. So if you guys haven't already explored that, you may want to check with their attorney down there.
Commission, we are working with the attorney that's representing us with the police fund, and she's in fact Jay and I had a conference call with her about a month ago, and so she will be bringing we'll be bringing some recommendations and some updates on that to you at a later date.
Thank you.
The good thing with both your pension plans right now, you do have what's considered a net pension asset. So what that means, if you look at what the projected outflows for your pension funds would be into the future and what you currently have sitting in investments, you have more investments than those projected outflows. There's a lot of assumptions in that, one being investment return and other items, but at least for your police pension plan, which is the one you guys be dealing with first, you won't have to be contributing money to close out that plan. Which is a good position to be in, as opposed to if it was a net liability, we'd have to put in money in order to close it out, potentially issue debt if that was to occur. Of course, it's all point in time. It all depends on where the market is at September 30th. So in some years, September 30th is good, in some years it's not. So that can definitely fluctuate what that pension liability or asset is. I try to keep it short, not quite 3 minutes, but maybe a little bit longer. But we do appreciate working with you guys, and any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
Okay, commissioners, do we have any questions? Commissioner DeVito, do you have a question?
No, he answered my question before I asked
Okay,
it.
he answered mine also. Commissioner
Like
West?
police pension, yes, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner West, you're good?
I'm good.
Okay, Commissioner Banks?
Mhm.
You're good?
One thing,
Okay.
very briefly. Could the commission get a rough copy of this report?
It's in here, isn't
Yeah, there should be the final copy of the
You
plan.
want like a draft?
Well, I would like to get it,
it? Condensed copy?
no, before the meeting, quite a while before the meeting.
So that we
So
can
we have
consume
time.
it. So,
Yeah, so
yeah,
we
we
can
didn't
go-
have a whole lot of time to consume.
Yeah,
this.
they were.
I mean, we got it.
You
It's
got
as we-
Trying to get one mail over to you guys, but they were emailed a couple weeks ago. So,
I think I asked for that last year.
Yes.
Get it to us in a timely manner so we can have time.
Yeah, 'cause it's a lot to get, it's a lot to go through to really wrap our, arms around
and
it.
if any of you want to chat about it, My kids get tired of me talking about county audit all the time, so if y'all have my phone number, my email, just give me a call and I'll be more than happy to chat with you. And
Commissioner
maybe I'll see you at a League of Cities meeting. This next one, I already had something scheduled, I can't change. So if I start doing them live, I got stuff scheduled, I'm like, how did that happen?
That's a nice job you did tonight. Very, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jan. Appreciate it.
Next, we're gonna go to the, John, do you have anything that you want to add to this at all
No,
before we go forward?
I've been
Okay.
working closely with Debbie and
Okay.
Phil on the responses. If you look at this, when you see the audit report, you'll see all responses to their comments. And we're hoping to rectify many of those.
That was one of my big questions is for next year as we,
Well,
Or this-
not sure how much we can do between now and September 30th, but certainly
For the-
9,
for the
30,
next,
22,
right.
yes.
okay, thank you for the next fiscal year. Okay, thank you. Okay, this time we're gonna have the sheriff's office report. Captain Esser?
Mayor and Commissioner, thank everybody's time here.
Mhm.
I would be willing to wait till last night, graduation's going on, and people probably have things to do, but if it's okay with you,
That's,
I can wait.
I think we're good. I think we're good. Yeah. It doesn't look like they're, before you get started, I do want to say thank you, and please make sure that everybody, that Dennis and the whole team knows how much we greatly appreciate all that the sheriff's office did for our community this last Saturday.
That was a complete success.
It was just something that everybody, our residents came together, your staff, spouses, everybody came together and without incident. And it was just a fun time and we greatly appreciate it. We really do.
We had a blast with that, and it was, like I said, it was a complete success, and talking to some of the residents and the community, they were very happy with it. And also the vendors that were there were very happy, they were taking care of it, so yes, awesome job, to everybody that was involved there.
Thank you.
Also, we got some suggestions for the future to make it a little few more things in
The
there.
one big thing I know they talked about was the dunking booth. And that possibly we can maybe raise some money for the, some of our athletics. And I said, oh, well, let's get our commissioners out there and we'll raise a lot of money. But we can have a lot of fun with that. So
Awesome.
everybody's looking forward to next year.
And
Yeah,
our-
that's what I couldn't say.
And our community service trailer will be ready at that time, so it'll be nice. So, all right, we'll get into the, I guess, the meat and potatoes here for a second. I'm gonna go over what I'm saying, law enforcement activities are here. You see first on that page, that's just total calls for service within the city limits. Second, you see traffic stops conducted within the city limits. And again, that's completely inside of the city. I found out it's a little too time consuming to go through every county call to see which traffic stops will where, how to plot them on the map to see which ones led from the city and were actually stopped outside of the county. It's very time consuming, so I'm just gonna stick with this, what was inside of the city limits.
Good enough.
Total of 3 traffic crashes. I know you probably heard about the one the other day. The lady is okay that was involved in that crash. It was at, I'm trying to think of the intersection, Wood and
Grove.
Grove.
think that's what she
Yeah, overturned vehicle and she was okay. That was investigated by the Florida Highway Patrol. Next, we'll see, that's the sheriff's office case number 1655, that's a theft at 101 Summit Street. That is still active. That was a catalytic converter that was stolen from was cut from a church van. We're seeing a lot of those right now. Those catalytic converters have some type of a metal in them that's very valuable. And those catalytic converters are getting very expensive. I've seen some of them going over $1,000 just for a catalytic converter. In our bigger cities in the state, they're experiencing car lots where people are coming in and they make a little device now, a little handheld battery operated machine that's kind of like the jaws of life that you see on the rescue units, but it's a lot smaller and it's made for cutting that pipe right now. So they're merely rolling up to the car, getting up under it, cutting it very quickly, and they've got anywhere from $300 to $1,000 in their pocket per catalytic converter. So we're seeing that, like I said, the other bigger cities are monitoring that through our scrap yards and things like that. But it seems like everything is mostly going up to Atlanta, as far as Atlanta, we look up there. So come down South Florida, pass through, either come down collecting them, and pass through and come back up, and end up in Atlanta with the, so it's, and it's kind of hard to trace them because they're not vehicle specific. I mean, they'll be on the car, but they don't have any kind of identification numbers on, so something we're working through now. The second one here is 775 North Summer Street. That's a solved case. It was actually a serial theft, I guess you would call it. They went up in the San Mateo Hills, Way and stole some tools out of a car there. Came down to Crescent City and actually got caught here and tried to go back north. When they went back north, our deputies intercepted them and charged them with those two crimes. Our crime analyst went a little bit further and went into Flagler County and St. Johns County, and they were involved in multiple cases there too. So they've been all over from Crescent City to St. Johns County, Flagler County, going to people's cars, mostly targeting unlocked vehicles and targeting tools and tools. But they are currently in jail. 101 North Lake Street, that is the Lakewood Nursing Center. We had another serial thief in there. It was determined to be a staff member. It was kind of a weird case. One of the residents there actually kind of suspected this staff member of the theft. So she placed her wallet into the room prior to the staff member going in there with a certain amount of money in it. And then when she left, she kept her eyes on the room. And when she left, she went back and checked her wallet again, and there was money missing from it. So that's kind of a clean cut case. There's some other ones where wallets were missing, and they were found in various places in the facility. It was the same person, but since she had left and been suspended, those tests have stopped. So she is being charged with that crime. That's all I have for crime reporting. Those were reportable crimes that I reported to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. So there was some other miscellaneous things there, like total vehicles and things like that. I didn't want to really waste anybody's time with that type of stuff. Talked about the kids, cops, and kayaks. Again, that was a success. And the shooting on Bay Lane, if you guys remember, not the homicide that we're working with, the shooting on Bay Lane. We have 2 suspects that are identified on that. We're waiting on some evidence to come back to actually get one affidavit for those individuals. It's going to take a little bit of time. So we've got some subpoenas out and some, like I said, some warrants and things. So once we get that case solidified, we will be making arrests in that case. We're really close on it.
Good.
Other than that, that's all I have from the sheriff's office. Does anybody have any other questions?
Commissioners, we have any questions?
I just have one question about the catalytic converter issue. I
Yes,
mean,
ma'am.
all cars have catalytic converters, right?
Yes, ma'am. Some of them have multiple.
So there's no real way to protect yourself from this kind of stuff other than having a security camera or locking up your car.
Yes.
And then my one comment is on cops, kids, and kayaks. I was very sad I wasn't able to be there, but I did want to mention it's the Putnam Blue Ways and Trails that provides the actual kayak lessons, correct?
What was that? I'm sorry.
Yes,
Putnam
they
Blue Ways
were,
and Trails
yes.
provides the actual
Yes,
kayak
ma'am. Yes,
lessons.
ma'am.
yes,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, because.
and the kayaks, I
Right.
believe, and they provided the
They had to
kayaks.
get lessons in on the safety stuff before they
Yes.
put the kids on.
Right, because I know that Sam Carr has he's been very generous with his time all these years.
Yes, ma'am.
Do y'all have to rotate it around to the other cities, or we just get pointed at Crescent City every
It's just
year?
Crescent City.
All right. That's good. I thought maybe we had to rotate.
Oh, no.
Good,
That's
good.
specific for this town.
That's good.
And it took a village, it really did.
Yeah,
Like
it
you
did.
said, it was the Blue Ways and Trails. We had Commissioner Burton, she was out there, she was out helping with you were a
I
sheepdog.
was a sheepdog,
Sheepdog.
herding the ones
She
that,
was herding that.
had a
We
little
had,
trouble paddling, keeping them all together.
And
That
you
made
were
them
out there
myself.
too.
well, and we had residents,
Yeah, and you can have, yes,
we
were.
had Lee and Cheryl Dayton, and Lee makes fishing rods here in town, and he was out there, gave out 25 fishing rods, but he taught children all day
Yes.
how to, bait their hook and how to fish. And, we know we now have at least 25 more Fisher people.
Yeah.
Because there were boys and girls out there and they were so excited about that. And so, you know, you
That's
teach
wonderful.
somebody to fish, they can feed their family forever. So it was just a great day.
It was hot, it was pretty tiring out there, but those smiles on the kids' faces, but basically, really made it.
Man, I tell you,
And I tell you, when everybody was setting up, it seemed like it took forever to get everything set up. So did you pay attention how fast we got out there?
We did. I was really disappointed because the slide was deflated before we had a chance to go down it. Yeah. So, but we just, please make sure as you go back, tell everybody how much we greatly appreciate all the work they put into it.
I'll do so. So if you don't have anything else, I'll go ahead and have a seat, but I will be available for any questions. Anybody have afterwards. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to turn this over at this time to Mr. Leary.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. The first item is our water treatment plant disinfection system. And our illustrious engineer, Dave, is here to make some comments and answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager, Madam Mayor, Commissioner. Greg Lang with the engineering firm Midtower Associates. And that was very generous, but anytime engineers get up and talk, we got to keep it even less time than certainly in auditors, because we all go into coma. I'm going to keep this very brief. We've been asked to provide a proposal for moving a system at your wastewater plant to a safer one. So what the current uses now, the city, is chlorine gas as part of the treatment process. It's a dangerous process. It's very toxic, as well as causes a lot of problems to other materials it comes in contact with. And it was very commonly used, though, as part of the treatment process. But over the years, most utilities have moved far away from chlorine gas and to liquid sodium hypochlorite, which is the fancy word for bleach, but it's liquid. So it's much safer. And so what we're proposing then is to design and then receive bids and have constructed a little separate enclosure at the wastewater plant to house a double wall containment tank with a little pump system that would do away with the gas system completely, and have that taken apart. So what our proposal is doing is really kind of a few different things. Item A in your package is the engineering design. I will get into the details of each one of these, but I'm certainly here to answer any questions afterwards. Item B is the permit application process, with the writing and submission. Item C is the surveying. D, construction bidding services. And then E would be administering the construction as we go forward with construction. So then on page 3 of our proposal is the breakdown of those costs, which sum total equal $31,500. And we expect that this project, if it goes forward into construction, would cost somewhere in the range of $125,000 to $150,000. But I want to make sure that I state for the record what we all are seeing, which is the current market conditions in many areas, but definitely construction costs and material shortages have created larger prices, higher prices on some of this work. So that remains to be seen. We don't know how long it's going to act, but we're recommending to go forward with the design, get it out for bid. We'll have the bids open publicly. We'll see what we have, and then the city can decide if we move forward with the project. That's my recommendation, and those are the costs. And please ask me any questions.
Yeah, my question is,
Okay, wait.
the distribution, there's 2 ways to distribute or to distribute the new bleach, right? One is to just dump the bleach in and let it go kind of thing. The other is to actually combine it to make our own bleach. Is the system that you're designing going to make our own bleach at 1 to 5 or 15%, where I'm not sure how it actually works, but we put in pellets and then water kind of comes in and does it, or are we taking liquid bleach and dumping it into the system? What are you designing for us, I guess?
Great question, Madam Mayor. This would be liquid sodium hypochlorite bleach at 10 to 15%
Yes.
range. And it would be in a double wall containment tank, and there's small piping lines that move that bleach to the proper location in the treatment process, but it's metered. So it's only what you need to have, and that can vary depending on how much flow and the type of wastewater you're treating, but it would be liquid.
Okay, but nobody's standing there dumping liquid in per se, I mean.
No, I think what this process would be, and Jason, the engineer that would design this, is on vacation camping with his 3 boys right now, but no, this would be a much safer process, so individuals that work for the city would not have to come in contact with the actual dangerous chemical themselves.
I want it to be the safest.
Exactly, and that's why utilities, I think, have been moving away from the gaseous system and to anything that's safer. And this is this is very safe, and it's in a separate containment vessel, in a separate small prefabricated building.
Right.
So yeah, this would be a much improved process that's much safer for your workforce. Great question.
Okay, Commissioner West.
Years ago, when we began this system, we had to have out on Union Avenue and 308, another station that interjected, disinfected because we supply the high school. Is that going to be part of this original, or does that also have to be addressed?
Madam Mayor, my understanding that does not have to be addressed. This is strictly at the wastewater plant where this chlorine would be injected.
All right.
Same thing with cocaine.
Okay, so there's right there.
And
Yes, at the plant, at the existing plant site.
We had this one already.
And we would demolish, take apart the system you're using now and have this small building, prefabricated building installed with the containing vessel and the pumping. So all at the existing site.
All right, my second question, you have a topographic survey. Is that so that the building won't sink and cause problems?
That's a great way to put it. Well, it's a anytime you design something, the topographic survey, which is the contour of the land and points within that, have to be performed so we know what we're working with. And so we know in our design and our permit application and our building plan, what goes where for a contractor to bid on. But it doesn't tell us if the building's gonna sink. So this is a very small building and we're gonna rely on existing data. But if it was a larger project with much heavier construction weight, we would do what's called soil boring. We would hire a separate geotechnical firm to bore down to certain depths to find out what's underneath there. For this small project, that's not necessary.
Okay.
That's a great question.
yes, sir, do you have something?
Well, just some information.
Yeah.
In case you are wondering, the engineering cost in the contract with Mature and Associates would be funded through impact fee funds that we never expended. We'll cover all of that. And then if we do move forward with construction, with the recommendation of the engineering firm, those funds would come from the Better Place Plan fund because it is a capital project.
And as we discussed, you said that you would go ahead and as monitoring the bids, you would also advise us. Would you speak to that, please?
Madam Mayor, sure. Because the environment, the bidding environment right now is very unknown, and we're seeing bids that spread from what we expect to much higher in recent months. What we would do is publicly open these bids, and then we would tabulate them for the city, we would provide a spreadsheet, and then we would evaluate them, and we would make a recommendation if there's a bidder that's within our recommended range, 125 to 150, and was qualified. We would make a recommendation of award. Now, if you see bids that are way outside what we expect, we would stand here, myself or Jason, and tell you exactly that, and show you all the different bids in the spreadsheet. And then you would decide, of course, as the elected officials, whether or not to move forward with the project. If you don't move forward with the project, you have planned to inspect design permits, usually good for 5 years, sometimes more. So you'd have something ready to go, and you could solicit for bids at a later date.
Good.
It's cost prohibitive, just
Yeah.
based on where we are in the current
Right.
climate. Okay. Okay,
So even though it's for informational purposes, I would like to ask it for a motion to move
Okay.
forward.
Commissioner DeVito, did you have a question?
It's a very small question. I can ask it after we have the motion to move forward.
Okay,
Just picky.
okay. Commissioners, do I have anybody want to?
I make a motion that we move forward with the process.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second, we have any discussion, Commissioner DeVito?
Well, I'll just ask my picking question. This is very technical. We have water, we have wastewater. Just for the benefit of the public out there, the agenda actually says water treatment plant. Does that cover wastewater, or would it be more, are we really talking about the wastewater? treatment
Wastewater.
plant? Okay.
Yeah.
Just to get oriented to everybody. So we're not talking about drinking, this is actually for.
No, this is our waste, this is
Right,
with our waste.
The project says,
Okay.
the chlorine is for required disinfection of the effluent. So this is
So
wastewater.
essentially, the water that we discharge into the holding ponds out there, the percolation ponds,
Yes.
it's drinkable, and the mayor volunteered to do a photo. Drink some of that water.
We don't think so, but okay, just so we're not talking about drinking, we're talking about the sewer end of it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. We ready to vote? Take the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Leary.
Thank you, Mayor. Next item is the discussion on the city buildings and renovation, which I did send y'all a memo, and it's in backup. And I know this could be a long discussion, so essentially what my recommendation would be is that we did budget money this year for renovation of the accounting department. But with our transition and what's going on now, I would not like to move forward with that until after we do something to renovate the old police building, to be able to move that staff in there, to be able to, continue their operations and work, and there's telephones that are available and computer lines and everything else. And then in the new fiscal year that we look to budget funds for renovation of the balance of City Hall. And then we do it, one area at a time in thirds. And also it would include some renovation to the meeting room also. So I'm open for your direction, and when the new permanent city manager gets on board, I'll work with him to make sure that process is. Or her, excuse me. Yes. And we actually have an outstanding, so for that person, I will help them with that process.
Okay, commissioners, do you have any questions about this?
I thought at one time that we had already
Put money,
allocated money towards fixing this building. What happened to that money?
the former
We did.
commission did 100 or 120 at one
Yes.
time.
Just for that part.
Just that area.
$60,000 for the accounting department.
For the account, and that was it.
And what we could do is utilize that money to renovate, and most of it's cosmetic in the old police building.
Yeah.
And get that ready for
them
people to
to
move
move
in. Right, if you would, at your discretion.
Mayor,
Yes, Commissioner DeVito.
I thought this was a great memo. It really laid everything out well, but to me, it seems like the first step is what you said in your third paragraph. Said to determine the best course of action, you recommend retaining the services of an architect to give us specific plans, costs, and timeframes. Because this is our general idea of what we think. But it seems like you're saying, if we hire an architect, and I asked you about that today, how would we pay for it? And that kind of thing, the architect could really firm it up and tell us costs and how we definitely should do it.
Right.
And I thought that was a great recommendation.
And if we do that in conjunction with, the architect would be overseeing the renovation and that type of thing, it can all be paid out of, because again, this would be a capital project, would qualify for Better Place Plan funds. So we can certainly do a bid for an RFP for architectural services, And then maybe they can give us ideas, they give us recommendations on the police building, and then start that we may be able to start that process and finish it before the end of the fiscal year. And then they would, obviously take a lot more work on this building, which is.
The police building is at least 70, maybe 80, 90 years old, Mr. Banks. I know it's at least 70,
70?
at least 70.
Well, it was
It was Cook's
a
Restaurant.
Cook's Cafe.
Right,
Yeah,
Cook's
but
Restaurant.
they basically remodeled it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I know it's that
Remodeled
old.
it.
I've got a picture of it, and I'll show you.
Yeah.
I'll bring it.
It really doesn't look like, I mean, a lot of that, like you said, is cosmetic. I know
Right,
there's
yeah.
one area that
This
there's
would be protection,
gonna
some
take some.
wall renovation. So, I guess, my recommendation then would be to, have the commission approve, having the staff do an RFP for architectural services.
Okay.
And we can pay for that out of the 60,000 that we have budgeted this year for the renovation, because I don't think it'll take $60,000 to do what we need to do over there.
No.
Are we ready then?
Okay.
I'll move that we hire the architect to take a look at that building, and this one also, is that what we're?
No.
We're gonna have,
Question.
we need an
RFP,
RFP.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, that's okay. We need to, you want to rephrase that?
No,
Okay.
I move that we
Direct,
direct the city manager,
put this out for
put this
RFP.
out for RFP.
For architectural services.
Okay. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Any more discussion? Okay. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no? Okay, the ayes have it, motion carried. So you'll take care of that get that started.
And I will work pending the next motion with our very
Okay.
special counsel. So,
Okay, do you want to
which
start the
is a good
discussion on
segue into item 7A,
that? Okay,
discussion on our city attorney. And actually, after meeting with Mr. Pickens today, and concurrence with Mr. Young, George Young, who is the managing partner for Holmes and Young's, who's here tonight to answer any questions, the staff would recommend that we enter into a contract with Holmes and Young for the next, through the end of the fiscal year, under the same terms that Mr. Asbury had as our, city attorney. And then in the new fiscal year, look at what direction we want to go in conjunction with them.
Second.
I think it's good, good, very
okay.
good.
We are very excited, Mr. Pickens.
Yeah.
And
Very, very.
do you want to say something?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm just here to answer questions.
No.
Anybody has them?
you want to introduce yourself?
Mayor, Commissioners, Mr. Leary, my name is George Young. For those who don't know me, I'm the managing partner of Holmes and Young. Mr. Pickens, one of our associates, who's kind of taken up the mantle from Jay while Jay's been out. And, for most of you, of course, Bobby's a local guy, so he knows most of you. I may not know you that well, but Mr. Leary and I have worked together before, have a pretty good relationship. Of course, I know the Sheriff's Office from way back in my days in the process as a prosecutor. We think we have a pretty good relationship with them. We have an office here in Crescent City. We're invested in the city, and we'd like to do our best to help out the city in their time of need right now. Like Mr. Leary said, we're willing to just step in on the same terms that you have with Mr. Asbury, that we don't have any last minute budget concerns or those type of things, and finish out the rest of the budget year, and then we can discuss during that time of how things could change or what we could do in the future for you.
We appreciate your willingness to
And,
do that.
and Mayor, I can't say youth and age, I'll say youth and experience that the firm has. And they've done a lot of work with other local governments. So we'll be having the advantage of more than just one attorney. We'll have others that can help us.
Yeah, the way we like to do this is, of course, you have your primary person, your point person, but if they're not available.
I spoke to Mr. Asbury today. And he is definitely on the mend.
You don't did?
He is on the mend. Yeah, there was, you could tell in his voice that there was, that, yes. And so he is very, very supportive of this. And, you know, with Bobby, the wonderful thing about this, I think, is that Jay has got so much institutional knowledge that we don't have. I mean, you two have, because you've been here about as long as Jay has been here, but the institutional knowledge, and that, you know, he is definitely willing to support, you know, Mr. Pickens and you in anything that you need at this time. So, and Bobby, we're just very proud that you're willing to take this on for us and come back home. And
Absolutely.
I know your parents are also, so we look forward to
I have
working with
one
you.
addendum to the contract, Madam Mayor,
Yes,
is
sir.
that the council has to take you fishing, so.
Council has to take you fishing. Okay, so at this time, we have a motion and we have a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No. Okay, motion carries. Welcome, both of you, and we appreciate it very much. Look forward to working with both of you.
That concludes all my items, Madam Mayor.
Okay,
Mayor, I have a question for the city manager,
okay,
and this comes out of a comment from the auditor. And I think, I don't know, I might have discussed this with the prior city manager. The auditor mentioned the debt service refinance.
Oh, yes, ma'am, that's a good one. I wanted to address it. So currently, we have the two loans for the gas authority that in total are about $650,000. And and both the interest rate is 5%. They are USDA direct loans. And what a direct loan means is with the agency itself, not with a private entity. I did talk to them about refinancing. They won't refinance it under a direct loan, but they will guarantee. We can go to what they call the guaranteed loan under the USDA program, that they would guarantee up to 80% of the loan with a private finance bank company, and that type of thing. I did call around, probably the best rate that we're going to get on that debt, and because of, if you look at, in which I'll bring back to you at a later date, the month to month up and down revenues versus expenses of the gas authority, it's not a real solid position. And so probably the best rate, in me talking to some banks, is about 4%. Now that would give us an additional percent that would help us. And so that's something I was going to bring back to y'all as one of the criteria that we could look at in trying to better our position with the gas authority. And it would save us some money that overall we've got to address the revenue and expenses with the gas authority in totality, and realistically, you know, is it in the best interest of the city to maintain that? Does that answer your question, Commissioner?
Kind of. So
Okay.
I guess the bottom line is, and it occurred to me while you were talking, I mean, I think our interest that we pay is something like $40,000 a year, ballpark.
5% of 650,000, whatever that is.
Right, I mean, there's the term and all that. But it occurred to me while you were talking, when you refinance, would there be significant costs associated with that?
Yeah, there would be refinance costs, yes, ma'am.
So you're going to continue to look at
I am going to continue, and there are a number of banks in the Southeast that primarily do USDA guaranteed loans. And so I was going to reach out to them. A couple of them are in Georgia, and see what type of terms we could get with refinancing that debt.
yes, sir, Commissioner Banks.
On that matter, we just had a loan refinance. I don't know whether it was for the gas department or from citizens.
Yeah, we did.
You remember that?
Yeah,
It's been about a year ago.
I think it's been a couple of years.
About a
but
couple
you know how
years.
things go.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess that's something to talking to
Yeah.
Debbie when
Yeah.
she gets back. She
yeah. We
Yeah.
got
She could-
very low interest rate.
Right.
When you bring it back to us. too.
Yeah.
I will do that.
Do we have any other irons in the fire for our gas company? It really kind of disturbed me to see that everything else is picking up as far as water, sewer, we're making money. And this year with gas, it went down significantly, 24%. Is there, I mean, that to me worries me, okay, as a commissioner, if that's something, I mean, I think it's something that we really have to.
Yes, ma'am. I do plan to come back and do a complete, presentation to the commission with potential options. One of the things that it's been a phenomenon that's happened or been a situation that the gas company's been dealing with for the last probably 7 or 8, maybe 10 years, is that both the manufactured home and modular home industry has pretty much eliminated building, pre-construction with gas. It's all electric. And so when, people have manufactured homes or building a modular home be replaced, unless you request gas, they generally are not included in that construction. So that has created a loss of revenue and clients. And we haven't seen any, big expansion in commercial use, restaurants that use gas and that type of thing. And I think our biggest customer was the funeral home in San Mateo with
Yeah.
Watts. And I guess when the other funeral homes realized how lucrative it was to have a crematory, they just all decided to get one. And so their use went down by about 2/3. So that was a pretty big hit. But
Anybody out there wanting to start a crematory or something?
But at any rate, yes, ma'am, I've been working on that actually since the second week I was here, and had met with Debbie and was looking overall at each of our enterprise funds.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we're looking at all of our options.
Yes, ma'am.
I understand that we want to, do something with the loans, but that, when I saw that number, that was just kind of striking.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
Well, crematory was a big hit. Because they were our largest customer.
Okay. That's it?
That's in the mind. You have
That's-
anything? Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, city attorney, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I do have a couple of updates on the Masonic Lodge that's back here. So I guess we might need to check with code enforcement, but it was my belief that there has not been a lien recorded or there's nothing to do. So I think that option also, it would be available if we went through the process and then recorded the lien and foreclosed on it that way. We also have the public nuisance abatement way, but that's gonna go through the court system, which I think on the short side would be up to a year. What we have discovered is we found a deed, like I told y'all at the last meeting, and we believe that we found somebody who would be qualified to sign the deed over to the city. Obviously, we would want to look into that because the deed reads it's the worshipful master and all that, and then any successors in office. So as long as we can find somebody that would be qualified as a successor in office, we believe that they could sign it over to the city with a quit claim deed, and then it would be as easy as that. The city would own the property, and then the city could do whatever they want to do with it. But going that route, I would like to ask the commission for permission to get a title search on the property, so we know that the New Moon Lodge has good title to give to the city, so we don't run into a problem down the road where we thought the city owned it and they didn't, and we tore the building down, or whatever the city decides to do with it, and then we go back and we have that huge process. It does take a little bit of time. It's really not a huge cost. I'd say it'd be about $80 to do a title search, just to make sure they have good title to give to us.
Okay.
I think that'd be wise.
Go ahead, Commissioner Banks.
Well, that's very wide because You know, I don't know, some niggling went on way back. And I don't know how it wound up. Just like I first said, I was a part of that organization at one time. But, and I got out of it on account of the niggling. And I don't know how it wound up. So that town story that was there, Mark, so you know who owns it, really.
Is, you have two successors, you believe, don't you?
We
Possibly.
think we've identified, Mr. Leary has identified two people. Obviously, just them saying that we do a little background research to make sure they have the ability to sign it over to the city. And then I think that would be the easiest process, because then it's just gonna cost the city the title search and then the recording fee, which would be near minimal charge.
So do we need to make a motion to go ahead and do
Wait a
that?
second, Commissioner West, I believe had to do
No,
it.
no,
You're good? Okay. Okay.
Executive,
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah, I
Commissioner
think that would be
DeVito?
necessary. Yes, sir.
Sure, I think the title search is great, but, and I'm sorry for the bad timing, that was my doctor's office call, so I had to step out, but I did want to speak to the issue of this building. I have no problem with the title search. I'd be happy to make a motion to authorize the title search, was that what the request was?
Yes, ma'am. Well, last meeting I identified 3 options that the city could take. One would be to try to find somebody that can sign the deed over to the city. The other one would be if there was a lien in place, foreclose on the lien, and then the city would own it if it didn't pan out. If the bid wasn't high enough, the city would be the highest bidder. And then the third option would be a public nuisance abatement, which would go through the court system to abate the public nuisance if the court determined that the Masonic Lodge back there was a public nuisance, which, I mean, there's no way to guarantee that the court wouldn't find that it was.
So right now, we need a motion for him to go forward with a title search.
Yes.
So Commissioner, do I have somebody who wants to make that motion? And then Commissioner DeVito, when we're done, you can speak to it.
I'll
Okay?
make that motion.
Okay, Commissioner Banks, and we have a second by Commissioner West. Okay, all in favor of going forward with a title search? Say yay, yay. Yay. All opposed, no?
I forgot to say that.
Okay, yay. Okay, so the motion carries. So Bobby, you can go forward. Now, Commissioner DeVito, you want to speak to the meeting, to the building?
Yes, I do. Commissioner Burton may be familiar with some of this. Just for everybody's knowledge, the Fruitland Peninsula Historical Society, which covers Crescent City, is really getting very active. I'm a member. I believe Commissioner Burton is.
Commissioner Burton is as well.
There's a wonderful project to preserve the creative archives, and as well, we have Jim Stagey, who is an architect and from St. Augustine, and very interested in historic preservation. He owns Daglin's Fish Camp up in Willaca. We have done a survey of some of our most significant historical buildings, and the Masonic Lodge is one that Jim actually has a buy-in. And I would like to share with y'all his recommendation. Jim and I spoke today also to touch base with Herb Ray, the president of the Fruitland Peninsula Historical Society. I hope I have that here.
Okay, Councilman Gonzalez, if you would, please.
But anyway,
Give one to Bobby.
like the president, Herb Ray of the Historical Society, Jim Stagey, they're very concerned that it may be slightly premature to absolutely plan to demolish the building. Jim's assessment and recommendation goes as follows. He wrote this afternoon. The Masonic Lodge building was probably constructed soon after the property on which it sat was purchased by Lucy Gautier in 1908. The building originally was on a lot facing Summit Street. Lucy Gautier lived at the residence throughout the historic period. In 1951, when Summit Street was widened as part of the improvements of State Road 17, the house was moved to its present location on Main Street. It was purchased by the New Moon Masonic Lodge, a local organization of 3 African Americans that dates back to 1885 for use as a meeting hall. As it was moved directly back on the property, I guess from Summit to Main, It's likely that the current back of the building is actually the front, vice versa. And Jim's assessment is, this building represents a key component of the essential fabric of historic residences that provide the turn of the century characteristics that are so essential to Crescent City's small town nature and National Register of Historic Places status. He recommends that the city absorb without cost for many years the accumulated code violations, and that the building be stabilized by removing vines and debris and limiting access to the building and site. He suggests it might be sold to the highest bidder who could restore it to its original appearance. So anyway, Jim is, he has looked at it and he would like to have access to the building, I think, to further assess it. His suspicion is that it is potentially rehabilitatable, and the Fruitland Peninsula Historical Society is interested in assisting any efforts to rehabilitate the building. So that is the status of their recommendation.
Commissioners, do you have any comments? Commissioner
A
Banks?
lot of comments. Have he really walked through that building, went upstairs and all through it?
No, he has gone onto the property and looked at the exterior of the building. What he would like to do is to be able to look at the interior of the building. He is, I guess, I mean, he's an architect, I'm not, but he feels it is worth taking a walk through.
In my only thing, just as a legal, I don't think the city doesn't own the property yet, so he would have to get a permission from.
Yeah.
Well, actually, yeah, the building has been condemned by the county building official and building inspectors. And in my discussions with them, the building is not renovatable at a cost. I mean, you know, anything, you got millions of dollars to be renovated. But at this point in time, I think we're well beyond that. And it is condemned, no trespassing, nobody can go in. The city, I think, would have liability if we allowed somebody to go in, which I don't think we have the authority to anyway at this point in time.
Yeah, I agree.
I know we don't now.
No. Well, he can just volunteer, go in. The guys will let him in over there. They said, over
Yeah, he
there.
can go right through, he can go right through the window.
You ain't got to worry about it.
Everybody does, he can go right through the window.
Yeah.
But the other thing,
Wait, okay, everybody.
the other thing with this particular building is, just the asbestos alone in this building, the outside, shingles are asbestos, according to Sherry, registrar, Cherie, the inside, the tiles, the roofing material is all asbestos in there. So I mean, it's gonna cost us a few bucks to get rid of it just because of that, you know, from the city, but I mean, this isn't a building that has been taken care of. Basically, it's condemned for a reason.
I'm sorry, could I speak to that?
Yes, and then I'm gonna make a suggestion.
Sure. I think Mr. Stady, certainly I appreciate his interest in the building and has taken the time to make the recommendations to us. I do understand that it's in its present shape. I mean, the windows are broken, the lot is full of trash, and I think that there are very inappropriate and probably illegal activities taking place back there. It needs to be fenced off, and I understand that the city doesn't own it. We can't give permission at this point to do anything. But I did want to bring forward that this architect and the Historical Society are certainly willing to help. It might be helpful if there's a report from the county to provide that to the Historical Society so that they could be better informed.
Public record.
Yeah, they can do that. They can go ahead.
I think what we need to do at this time, if
Sure.
we need to, I'm gonna give a suggestion,
Sure.
is that Mr. Pickens goes ahead with the title search.
Yes.
Okay. And we can revisit this at the given time that it does become, you know, property of the commission or the city. Okay. Appreciate this, you know, their interest in this. I know that the amount of money that it probably would take for the renovations, don't know where they would come up with that money, or if they're looking to raise funds, but I think this is maybe a discussion we can have at a further time, if that's okay.
Now, you did also mention that you made a list of historical buildings in Crescent City. Was there any other buildings that Mr. Steggy might be interested in redoing? That the list that you came up with? Was there any other building or just that building?
No, the list is a work in progress, but I think Jim's point is that a historic fabric of a town is composed of a group of buildings, not just individuals. The list is in progress. A group of us went around, Jim did photographs, Cherie Register has the listing of the history of the building. And the list that's being made is buildings that are most in danger. Jim is not necessarily interested in renovating them himself, but he is very interested in bringing this to the attention of the commission and the public to let people know what we have. Cherie Register has very detailed histories of some of these buildings that are in our historic district that contribute to the existence of that district.
Okay, Commissioner Banks.
Well, that one building that I can meet him, I can talk to the pastor, the Methodist church, right there on the corner.
Sure.
When Patrick was the city manager, he attempted, but we couldn't find nobody interest in wanting to meet him down there from Jacksonville. Matter of fact, Patrick got him, went crawl up under with a headlight on it, and the structure up under there.
I
But-
remember him mentioning.
Yeah, but if they could look into that, I think
That would be saddle.
I think that would be good, because it is history.
Okay, and which,
To make sure.
what is the name of that church, Mr. Banks?
The Methodist church, right on the corner, Union Methodist.
Union.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got more than one. Right, but, well, anyway, maybe, with a little advance notice, Jim could come and talk to us. and Jim and Cherie-
Randolph preached there.
Who does?
Yeah, and that's what makes it.
They feel it Randolph,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, and they got that monument right there on the corner of it.
And then currently, with this being condemned building, there's also violations if you even enter the
Oh,
building.
yeah.
So nobody can even enter the building.
Actually, you can be arrested.
Yeah, you can be, I think you can be arrested if you enter the building. So even a homeowner, I know that's an issue with them when the buildings get
The building-
condemned.
Officials report or his analysis for the condemnation is available. This public record, just call the county.
Okay, all right.
That's all I know.
Commissioner DeVito, I can get the pastor, they do have an active pastor now, he lives in Green Coast Spring.
Okay,
I'll get his phone number and address and everything.
Listen, that's a neat building too.
You know, and that was mentioned on, oh geez, on one of the news stations during the month of the Black History Month. Philip Randolph was mentioned and what he did, you know, and I was very impressed with the whole story. It's just very, very good story.
And we never want to lose any of our historic buildings, but what happens, you know, when they've been neglected for so many years, unfortunately.
right. Well, we actually have a historic district, but the problem with retaining it is there are many buildings that are contributing to that historic district that are deteriorating in the extreme. And that is the issue that,
This
So
building
pretty
is
much-
definitely deteriorated to the extreme.
right, but we have others. So that is the project that the Historical Society is trying to undertake to identify this building and bring it to everybody's attention.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Mr. Pickens, do you have anything else? Is that,
That's all I have.
okay? Commission, at this time, do you have any comments? Is there anything that you want to bring up? And we'll start with Commissioner Burton.
No, I don't. I just
Okay.
don't-
Commissioner Banks? Yes,
Yes.
Don't tell me.
I'm not gonna be long though, but I do have a couple things.
Okay,
We told, well, a tree fell in a house in Rocket Lane. And the city moved the tree. And the property there is vacant, is in between, and if I'm not mistaken, we might have to go back and go through our records. I think the Kennedy promised the two sisters, because they stay side by side, so we can put it back on the tax roll. Because right now it's off the tax roll. And we need to get it put back on the tax roll. Divided up between the two sisters. It's just a very little small piece. You can't build.
Oh, yeah. The public works director brought that to my attention, and that's on my list, that we would, the city owns it, and so that we would just put claimant half and half to each of the property owners, because it's too small to build on, nothing that can be done with it, and it would add to their yards.
And the two sisters, and they read down there agree.
I actually have the property appraiser's tax sheet on, or assessment and everything, so I'll be working on that.
One more.
That's what I'm getting.
820 Cherry Lane. 820 Cherry Lane. My understanding by talking to the public work director, we do have a right of way. Some of our utilities is up under there. And the young ladies want to buy 820. Now, I don't know who the land belongs to. It's on the corner there. Annie Crumley used to own the land a long time ago. But the city told the house, had to tear the house down. I would like for us to look into that. And my understanding that our utilities go right down the center. Well, I don't think of the street name, but it go right down the center of the road.
Okay. And what's the problem? I mean.
Well, the two young ladies, I don't know who the property belongs to right now. The city had paid to get it towed down. I do know that. But it
belongs to the Protax Financial.
Protax, okay. Property belongs to the Protax Financial.
so I can come up here and get that information. So I
Yes.
can,
Yeah.
of course, her daughter, she has two daughters. And they want to buy that land, so their mama will always have access to her house in the back. I think you probably know what I'm talking about. The house is right there in the back.
If you'll come up, we'll get you that information.
Okay, I'll come up. Okay.
Commissioner West, are you done,
No,
Commissioner?
no,
Oh, no, he's not
no,
done.
no,
Okay,
I-
I'm sorry, Commissioner Banks, keep going.
I took some
Floor is
pictures.
yours.
I took some pictures because I know everybody talks about it, but I wanted the commission and I wanted the people to see it. I passed by our swimming over there
Yes, sir.
I
and
was going there next.
No,
so you
let-
go
let-
ahead and do it.
let me finish.
I will, absolutely.
I seen about 10 of the prettiest birds strutting in the eating room up under the,
In the gazebo
Right
area,
there,
yeah, the picnic area.
Right.
we got to do something. I don't know what we can do to get rid of those birds, but it's, number one, it's not healthy for the people.
Wait, Commissioner Banks, you're actually talking about the vultures,
Vultures.
right?
Yeah,
Not
that-
pretty ones, you're talking about the vultures.
Y'all
right?
call them birds,
Okay.
The vultures.
but it's not, to me, it's not healthy to the public.
Right.
Something need to be did. We need to rope it off until we can come up with a solution, not the whole swimming area now.
I do know, like over on the beaches, because they have a lot of trouble with birds, but they'll put like a fine line across so that they can't land, if you know what I mean, like a fishing line.
Monofilament.
Yeah, if you know, like along St. Pete beaches, different
Right.
areas where you don't want birds to land and eat and be
Okay.
we've had this discussion several times, so maybe
Yeah.
at this point in time, we need to bring an expert in that can help us with
Yeah.
how to get those vultures.
We really need to
And
do
I've been
something.
there in the evenings, or late in the afternoon, and they do show up and they fill up the beach at times.
We do have
Can
a
I
person
speak to
feeding
Yes,
them.
and just, yes, I'll get you.
We do, over in that area, there is a person right now, I believe, feeding them in that area.
Okay.
Kidding.
Commissioner DeVito?
Okay. We've talked about this before, and some people have suggested some resources. Linda Young sent me a link to some, for one thing, vultures are protected. We need to consult the Fish and Wildlife Commission. I don't think in the case of vultures, putting up filament will be any protection because vultures are extremely destructive and they can rip up, they're like squirrels or whatever. They can rip things up, but two things to me are very clear that would be very preventive. Number one, people should be absolutely prohibited from feeding you're not supposed to feed wildlife anyway, and we certainly don't need it there. Another problem, vultures are attracted to garbage.
Yes. I was gonna say-
So one thing that would really help would be to require people, if they bring food, to pack it out. In our parks, I noticed that people will just take the remains of big picnic and just dump it in the garbage can. This is going to attract vultures.
We pick up the garbage every day.
Right, but there's enough of a time lag that the vultures are happy.
Yeah, but that's not what the, I understand, but that's not what the vultures,
But
that's not what
the
the.
main thing is, yes, I agree with the mayor. I think Mr. Leary or somebody on his staff needs to consult FWC, and I will try to find the resource link that Linda Young sent, because it specifically spoke to a knowledgeable person or organization that can advise on keeping vultures out. But it really would help if people would not feed, and we might need a sign or whatever.
I'm gonna go to Pomona Park.
Mhm.
They have a beach. And I don't think they have a problem with those birds like we do. But I'm gonna check out Pomona Park.
Well, if somebody's feeding them, they're definitely gonna come back. every
Yeah,
night.
we had a person feeding them over our way. That person has
Passed
since
away.
passed
She
away,
passed away.
and we no longer have the birds.
Yeah, once you
In
start
that
feeding them, they
area.
won't.
Yeah.
Well, that's just really, you absolutely can't have that, and I do recommend that we contact the Fish and Wildlife
I will
Commission.
do that.
So.
And, you know, I mean, if anybody has seen feeding birds, they just on public property.
And there's a wildlife alert number that you can call, it's toll free.
Yeah.
And they'll send a FWC officer, if you see, I mean, and there's several that live in the county, so I'll work on that.
Maybe they got an idea. So that beach draws people.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
People
I
be
don't-
there on Sunday and
keep it pretty-
Saturday.
Yeah, we keep it pretty clean, and so the logical thing is that with somebody feeding them, they're just gonna come back every day, even if they're not fed every day. They're fed once a week,
They're
they're
staying in
gonna
that
come back.
area. is what
I
we
mean,
do. We kind
it's
of
just,
stay
that's
around.
what, and that I'm sure is what the problem is.
Okay, Commissioner Banks,
I'm through that.
you're through now? Before we continue, Mr. Leary, we had talked about the banners. This is our 60 days. We're pretty much on with the banners. We were gonna address that in 60 days. And so I think we
I
were
don't
gonna
think
do,
we're quite at the 60 days, but
Okay.
we just did it last month, but
we did it in April, we did it in April.
right.
So we got another month.
No, we don't. 60 days from April is, we had May and now we have June. I just want to make sure that,
We're in the process of
okay,
of amending the ordinance, but it's much bigger than that because the ordinance as a whole needs to be looked at and rewritten, and that's gonna be time.
I just want to make sure that
Not
because
enforcing it,
that we're not,
correct.
and that especially during these summer months, that they're able to, because I know they've been very, very beneficial to them. And
Well,
so if we
Mayor,
need to extend it, out
Or not
for
extended
the
at all.
commissioner, well, we have a motion that put us at 60 days.
Yeah,
So
well, we can have a motion to take it off, though. I
Well,
mean,
that's what I'm saying. We need to take some action. I feel like we need to take some sort of an action on it, just so that
Well,
that we
if you can
extend
give me
the-
30 days, then I'll bring back an amendment to the ordinance to address that would have some criteria. I apologize apologize.
No, that's,
We just have other things to do.
Right.
And the way that it really is originally written is fine. I don't think that we need to have a motion to
I'll,
look at it at this time. We should just let it go.
I'll confer with our council and
I just want to make sure for, you know, for
Okay.
those people that are using those, that they know that we are,
right.
you know, trying to do something to their benefit. And we don't want anybody to call us out on that. So, okay, thank you. Okay, Commissioner West?
I think last month we discussed signs down at the, I call it the dock, and there's not a dock there because was it a child? There was a big dock there. Anyway, so signs, no airplanes, no boats,
And no dogs on the beach.
no dogs on
We're,
the beach.
we're working on, signs should be ready. They'll post the swimming areas, no boats. I think the dog signs, and the park rules have all that in there. It's just that people don't pay attention.
Right.
And we have limited ways to enforce that, but, you know, we'll put up more signs and
All right.
we can't work that out.
In a way, we can put in the teeth in the ordinance, in order
We can put a fine to it.
so we can do something for violators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, right now, if they violate, we just tell them to go off. And somebody else, John Doe will come and they'll come home. But once we find somebody
Mhm.
and the word get out, because all that is unhealthy.
Right.
Dogs swimming in the water.
Yeah,
Right.
where we swim is very unhealthy.
Yeah, and I actually have a question about Commissioner Banks. I think had a great idea to put some teeth into it and fines. And my question is, if you're prohibiting behaviors in addition to fining, can you trespass someone? For example, if they violate the park rules, could we possibly just trespass them?
That would be a question for the sheriff's
Right,
department.
and it doesn't need to be answered now, but
Yeah, it's.
it could possibly be a tool in the toolbox to get people to comply with the swimming beach.
Habitual, are you talking habitual offenders?
No, I'm
For
just saying,
trespassing?
if we're gonna have an ordinance with fines, maybe, I don't know if it's possible, but maybe we could just have a simple provision of trespassing people, you know, violate the rules X number of times. So I'm just throwing that out. I don't need an answer to it right now. But I think Commissioner Banks had a great idea. You need to have some rules that people take seriously, and that takes teeth.
And it's so busy right now, and it's busier than I believe it's ever been. And most people are behaving. You just always have a few that don't. And we want it to be safe for everyone.
Commissioner DeVito?
Sure, just a couple of things. We talked about the League of Cities meeting in August, which is in Orlando. And I just noticed an email that it is now time to register and get hotel rooms. And it's my understanding that all this has to be done through the city. Because there's, in other words, you don't make your own arrangements. The one time I went before COVID, Deb made the arrangements. She signed us up, Commissioner Banks went. And as well, I think they have to make the arrangements for the hotel room in order to pay for it without you paying tax. But anyway, we were not actually able to sign up ourselves.
Well,
Okay.
my recommendation would be that you sign up yourself. We can give you the tax-free number and your hotel and your per diem, you would submit that after the conference and you would pay it. I mean, we don't have time to, I've never worked government or private sector where you didn't make your own reservations for conferences and hotel. It just makes more sense to do it that way. And you just file a travel voucher once you return.
So what you're saying, Commissioner DeVito, is that
It's time.
they want, the League of Cities won't allow us, or is that just
Yeah,
something that?
Oh, sure they will.
You
No,
were
that was-
already.
Or is that
Already made
something
my
that Deb
hotel
just did as a courtesy?
We did.
Well, since
I-
well, let's put it this way, since I didn't actually do it, I just know what I was told. I don't know if it's correct.
Okay, she probably did it as a courtesy.
I
When
don't
I
know,
went
but
years ago, I used the tax-free number
Okay.
and it was fun.
Yeah, I took a copy.
Right.
Last time I went, I think it was in Miami or Orlando.
Okay,
Last time it was,
correct.
I took a copy of the tax ID.
Right.
I paid for everything. I kept receipts. When I got back, I rushed up in.
turn them all in, okay.
And
So
turned them all
everybody, you're
in.
gonna be on your own for that then.
Right, but I guess my point was check your, if you wish to attend, check your email because now's the time.
Okay.
And I think the hotel block is limited.
Okay,
And so I would encourage you to go ahead and register, and if you're going, and, you know, the city will pay the registration, they'll pay your hotel, and per diem meals per day, and mileage. And, if we don't have a travel voucher, which I hope we do,
Yeah, we got.
then we'll get one, and you just fill that out, and then within a week, you'll have your reimbursement.
Commissioner DeVito,
That's fine, just want to make sure everybody saw that come
thank you
through.
for bringing that.
Then the other thing is I did have a request. I know we've had a lot going on. I was not able to be at the last special meeting. It came up rather quickly. We did it in a different way. In the past, I guess as a collegial body, we have always set our future calendar and future meetings together. We get out a calendar and everybody sets it. We had one special meeting scheduled in April that was canceled the day of. I had already canceled medical appointments that I had set, but I had to reset. So I would just ask in consideration of all of us that we try as much as possible to schedule our meetings together so that we can all be here. Because sometimes things just can't be changed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is that it?
I think so, yes.
You done? Okay,
All right,
let's go
Mayor,
on to our,
code enforcement,
Code
and essentially we have 3 cases. And the staff recommends that the commission adopt the recommendation of the code enforcement board for the settling the fines and the liens for these 3 cases.
commission. We have a motion to accept.
I said,
Okay,
Second,
we have a second. Do we have any discussion?
Well, I have a question about the 116 Park Avenue property. It's my understanding that the first 2 parcels, 110 Cedar Street and 903 Walnut, involve former residents who passed away and the families were left to deal with the property. The Park Avenue property, that's a vacant lot. And I was a little bit confused. That was sold, somebody now acquired ownership by tax deed, is that right, Mr. Larry?
That's correct, yes, and through a tax sale, and the excess proceeds went to the city, which was over $1,000, which would have covered any fine that we would have recommended.
Well,
So we're
I don't
accepting
know,
that.
I looked at it, wasn't that, I thought in looking at it, that particular property had had fines accruing for years.
I'm sorry, well, code enforcement officers here, and she can answer. questions.
Right, I thought, I guess what I'm wondering is, it's a vacant lot, it's a nice big lot. Is there any urgency to, basically, we're getting liens on that property, right?
What part we're talking about?
At 116 Park Avenue.
But
It's a
we're,
vacant lot.
Right, right, but so we're forgiving 3 liens on that.
Yes.
And they're actually worth quite a bit of money.
Well,
They are very high. If you added it up, there was no total.
yeah, it would be
It would be like $100,000 or more.
at least. Ryan Hampton acquired that property through a tax deed sale. He was not the buyer there. The county sent us a check. It was an overage, the tax deed sale.
Right.
So we just want to clear them, excuse me, clear the liens away. So Mr. Hampton has a free title on the property.
But is he asking us to?
No, he's not.
So I
The
guess,
city accepted the check.
took the check, and so my recommendation was that satisfy the fines against the property, since he wasn't the individual that, that the code enforcement action was taken against. And that then now he can hopefully, and I think, maybe he wants to build a house on the property, the lien won't be there, and have free and clear title to the property and be able to develop it.
And it's been brought back into compliance, correct?
Correct.
It's-
It's in compliance.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. All of them,
All of them.
all of them have been. yeah.
Correct.
And we're going to accept your recommendation to accept $1,000. Okay,
We already deposited.
okay, okay. So we have, yes, sir, you have,
No, you're gonna make the motion. on that?
we
Now,
have a
are we-
motion.
Are we making a motion to accept all three
Yes.
of?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have a motion right now to accept all
All
three
three
of
of
the
them.
staff recommendation
Yes.
and a second. All in favor, say yay.
Yeah,
All opposed, no.
Aye.
Motion
They'll be
carries.
saying, yay.
Yay.
me, I
I'm so
got,
cold, I can't even.
Commissioner Wheeler, I got one more thing I'd like to bring up.
Okay, Commissioner Banks.
And I took pictures of them. I hadn't downloaded it yet. City Hall, the front of it. Right there, that little nook right there, and over there by the police station. Now, look, I don't know what we did to the people that used to maintain that.
I'm glad to address that.
We need to find them back.
I met with them last week,
Mr.
and
Lewis already
they're going to bring me a plan
Okay,
with costs for revitalizing it from a landscaping standpoint. We're going to get the irrigation fixed when they fix the irrigation for the islands.
Thank you.
And we are going to get it cleaned up and looking very nice.
thank you. That was my point.
I'm way ahead of it.
We taxing other people in City Hall look better than anywhere else in the town. And I think we need to put them on a little small salary.
We are, yes.
Those people work hard out there.
Yeah.
It'd be
She
hot.
does.
Yes.
They
I seen
both
them
do.
toting water one day.
Right, many days.
Yeah, so,
And we're gonna get
work very
we're gonna
hard.
get
Okay, well, good.
the faucet fixed here, so they,
I appreciate that.
yes.
Thank you.
Okay,
That's it.
at this time, we're gonna open up for our public hearing.
Someone texted me and said that they had a question of the life. I don't know, I got a text, I don't know who it's from. Somebody said they wanted to make a comment and I don't know who it was. So I don't know
Okay.
if they're still there.
Okay, so at this time, this is to bring up ordinance, the first reading of ordinance case. It's ordinance 2021-04, ordinance case for RZ 2104 for 302 Palmetto Avenue concerning application to allow for lot 2 to be rezoned residential from commercial.
The staff recommends approval.
And the staff recommends approval, okay? And I'm going to ask for any additional factual testimony if we have anybody in the audience. Okay, we have none. Gonna open the public input. Do we have any public input from the audience? Seeing nobody come to the podium, I'm gonna close public input, bring it back to the commission. Do we have a motion for acceptance?
I so moved.
Okay, do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? He really does. He works out there all the time. Okay, no discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No. Okay. Motion carries. We'll take this to the next meeting for the second reading. Okay. I think with that, do we have anything, any other comments? Yes,
Well,
sir.
And,
Mr. Ware?
and, our council just advised me, and I meant to bring it up, a couple of meetings ago. Any texting between commissioners or mayor and people are texting back to you is public record.
Okay.
So during the meeting, just so you know that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. I think that goes to our, at some point, I've been asking for this since November, and we're gonna get to it eventually, where we're gonna have a workshop or a special meeting on procedures, because we don't have any that are established outside of just Robert's Rules of Orders that we have been able to find. So I think we need that. So, okay, and yes, Commissioner DeVito?
Yeah, I do have one observation, our where public comment lies on the agenda has moved a couple times recently, like today, for a while, Mayor Peterson put it up front, and then at some point it's gone back to the end of the meeting. It just occurs to me, and I don't know if council would have an opinion on this, today, to make it more convenient for people who are already here, we moved public comment up, and that's great for people who are already here. But it worries me a little bit that as people see the agenda and they see public comment at the end, you know, that we want to make sure in the future, if we move it around, that somebody who comes at the end to do public comment does not miss out.
I understand. Thank you. Okay. No other comments? Okay, meeting's adjourned at 7:50.
All right.